Cape buffalo versus hyenas. Brutal survival battle on the African savanna. A force composed of small-sized individuals with compact bodies and agile movement operates through patience and coordinated tactics. Every action is calculated to apply continuous pressure on the opposing side. On the opposite side, the Cape buffalo herd forms a unified mass of large bodies with great weight and strong collective defense capability. The cohesion of the herd creates a dense movement structure that maintains a stable formation at all times. When two opposing survival systems occupy the same space, conflict becomes unavoidable. The central question is not which side initiates contact, but which strategy is effective enough to disrupt the existing balance. As the sun lowers over the Serengeti horizon, deep red light reflects through layered clouds, and fine dust suspended in the air. The massive dark shapes of the Cape buffalo herd stretch across the dry ground and move westward as a unit. At the far edge of the plain, a group of spotted individuals lies close to the ground, concealed within tall grass. They maintain silent observation while tracking minor changes in the movement of the buffalo herd, contrary to common belief that identifies them only as scavengers. These animals function as organized and persistent hunters. Their bite force exceeds that of many large carnivores and is sufficient to fracture dense bone in a single clamp. As late afternoon arrives, heat, dust, and body odor from hundreds of animals accumulate in the air. At the rear of the herd, a juvenile buffalo begins to fall behind due to fatigue and reduced speed. This minor change is sufficient to attract attention. The physical encounter lasts only a few minutes, As movement slows, the juvenile buffalo remains motionless on the heated ground. Under diminishing light, one life cycle ends, while the survival processes of the ecosystem continue to function. On the distant horizon, massive gray forms gradually appear and move slowly through red dust covering the ground. These are African elephants, the largest land animals on the planet, yet their movement remains stable and evenly paced. Under the dry, intense light of the savanna, herd structure is organized under a matriarchal system. The oldest female holds the leading role and carries accumulated knowledge of terrain, water locations, and vegetation recovery cycles. This information does not exist as physical markers, but is retained in long-term memory, allowing the herd to select suitable routes when environmental conditions become harsh. This memory capacity enables elephants to endure extended dry seasons when resources are unevenly distributed. During the breeding period, adult males enter a distinct physiological phase marked by increased hormone levels. This condition alters behavior and leads to direct physical confrontations between mature individuals. Tusks collide, massive bodies push against each other, and the ground vibrates with each movement. The outcomes of these contests determine access to females in breeding condition and support selective processes within the population. Surrounding individuals gather nearby and use trunk contact to confirm the presence of the new member. In an environment under constant pressure, each successful birth supports continuity within the herd. However, risk is never absent. Calves can become targets for large predators, and in some regions are also affected by human activity. To reduce exposure, the elephant herd maintains continuous movement while searching for food, water, and secure space. Their persistence is directly linked to ongoing movement. As sunset arrives, massive silhouettes stretch across a deep red sky. The slow, steady pace of the herd merges with low ground vibration. When these individuals leave an area, the operational rhythm of the local ecosystem changes accordingly. Dawn appears over the Serengeti savanna. Sunlight passes through thin mist, mixed with dust, and gradually reveals long, dark bands stretching across the dry ground. Within the operational cycle of the savanna, the absence of a single individual represents only a minor variation in a continuous flow of movement. Order within the herd is not controlled by visible signals, but is maintained through collective response. Each individual holds a precise position which reduces the risk of separation from the group structure. When a calf enters a dangerous situation, the response extends across the entire formation. The core strength of the Cape buffalo does not rely solely on mass or horns, but on the ability to maintain collective structure under constant pressure. This stability allows the herd to persist through prolonged, harsh conditions. During movement, the herd does not only search for water. Each heavy step disturbs the surface soil and allows air and moisture to penetrate deeper layers. Of savanna vegetation. Under intense sunlight, the dark skin of the herd reflects strong light and stands out against the dry ground. While many species rely on speed or sensory awareness to survive, the Cape buffalo maintains its presence through endurance and organization. Few predators underestimate a buffalo herd moving in proper formation. Very few obstacles can force such a structure to stop. Under persistent heat, the herd continues toward the horizon, where land and dust merge. From a distance, the ground begins to tremble under the impact of hundreds of thousands of synchronized footsteps. Columns of red dust rise in the morning light, and signal the beginning of the largest large-scale movement on the African continent. The wildebeest herd appears as a continuous flow stretching across the grasslands of the Serengeti and the Masai Mara. This movement is not random and is driven by rainfall cycles and instinctive search for nutrient-rich fresh grass. Areas that have already been heavily grazed cannot support the herd for long periods. Survival pressure forces the animals to move forward toward regions where recent rain allows vegetation to regenerate. Throughout an annual journey that spans thousands of miles, the wildebeest herd remains under constant observation by large predators. Lions, hyenas, Nile crocodiles, and cheetahs take advantage of every opportunity created by the moving mass. Its gaze remains fixed on the moving herd while it waits for a shift in wind direction to conceal body scent. When a juvenile becomes separated from the formation, the safety margin immediately disappears. Afterwards, silence returns quickly. Within this ecosystem, every successful hunt carries a clear cost. For the cheetah, the outcome of the hunt determines the ability to sustain energy for itself and the next generation. Only survival rules operate through selection and removal. The migration does not stop. The remaining individuals continue forward without altering pace. Far ahead, the Mara River appears as a new life-or-death boundary. Beneath the murky surface, large Nile crocodiles remain motionless in waiting positions. Despite increasing risk, instinct continues to drive the herd forward. The water source ahead is a required condition for sustaining life and completing the migration cycle. As the sun rises higher, thousands of gray and black bodies merge with the movement of the ground. The sound of hooves, calls, and wind forms a continuous sound field that spreads across the savanna. Within this flow, zebras appear alongside the wildebeest. The two species differ in form but share the same root and survival objective. Zebras possess well-developed vision and olfactory ability that allow early detection of danger from long distance. Wildebeest assume a directional role and identify grazing areas and the next water points. When the rainy season begins, the savanna rapidly changes appearance. During this same period, zebras enter a concentrated breeding season. Within a short time span, thousands of offspring are born almost simultaneously. This synchronization reduces predation pressure because the number of newborns exceeds the harvesting capacity of predators. Most zebra foals are able to stand and move within only a few minutes. Early adaptation allows them to keep pace with the herd from the earliest stages of the journey. Black and white stripes do not only disrupt visual recognition in dense grass, they also function as individual identification markers that help maintain mother and offspring association within large groups. Together with wildebeest zebras, continue moving northward and cross rivers, dry plains, and semi-arid regions. This movement represents an essential component of the large-scale survival cycle of the savanna. Sunset settles over the Serengeti plain. The air becomes dense with retained heat and red dust suspended after a day of continuous movement. From a distance, the Cape buffalo herd appears again. Within short grass, a lion group rests and recovers after unsuccessful hunts. As distance decreases, pale eyes orient toward the approaching buffalo herd. Opportunity exists, but it carries high risk. Hunger pressure can force predators to accept greater risk. Injuries caused by buffalo horns are often decisive and can alter survival outcomes for attacking individuals. As sunset deepens, reduced light reflects across smooth horn surfaces. The Cape buffalo herd continues forward at a steady pace without changing direction. Their movement preserves order and spacing and forms a structure that is difficult to disrupt. In many situations, this structure forces predators to withdraw. The sun lowers further along the horizon, and pale yellow shifts toward deep orange. The entire savanna becomes covered by final daylight, and harsh midday contrast diminishes. Across wind-exposed plains, impala groups move with high mobility. Slender bodies, narrow horns, and sensitive hearing allow rapid response to minor environmental changes. At greater distance, giraffes remain stationary in upright posture. Long necks rise above grass level and provide wide visual coverage in open space. They select acacia trees and thorn shrubs and use extended tongues to remove young leaves from branches. This activity proceeds slowly and aligns with late afternoon movement pattern. Above large mammals, bird species begin to leave feeding areas. Some individuals perch on buffalo and giraffes and remove remaining parasites before nightfall. Soft wing movement blends with cooling air and creates a transition between day and night. The landscape stabilizes as light levels decline. Within tree canopies, baboon groups gather and produce loud vocal output before darkness spreads. During daytime, they disperse to forage, and at night, they assemble on elevated branches to avoid ground-level threats. When final light disappears, leopards begin activity. The body remains still on acacia branches, and spotted coat blends into dark surroundings. The long tail moves lightly with wind while the body maintains a ready state. Silence gradually increases, yet minimal movement remains present. Wind, late-day bird sounds, and decreasing animal footsteps merge together. These elements form a continuous sound field without complete stillness. Night closes over the savanna like a cover. Darkness envelops the landscape while survival processes continue beneath. Each species maintains a specific role within the shared ecosystem structure. Individual movements combine and form an uninterrupted cycle of persistence and replacement. Life and death are not separated within this environment. They coexist as necessary components that maintain long-term balance. Even within this harsh landscape, life continues. Each movement and each breath reflects the capacity of natural systems to persist over time.